people flow in. Okay, we're going to start. It is the 60-second Security Thought Leadership webinar today. And we've been here every Tuesday and Thursday, other days too, around this time, each time debating a subject of crucial importance to the security world. And the idea of thought leadership is we critique today what's going on in order that we get a better type of security tomorrow. And today the topic is about keeping business going. How central or marginal is security to core business activity? And the point that's being debated here is that on the one hand, there are those who argue what a great job security's done in this pandemic in keeping business going, and that will last into the future. And on the other hand, those who argue there's nothing special about security. Every function similarly placed has been helping the business going, and they too are claiming they're special, but no one is special. And once austerity hits, security is the first to go anyway. We'll see. Today we've got another elite panel of people involved in different parts of the security world who will be debating this issue with us. And as is always the case, I'm going to invite first each of them to introduce themselves. Once they've done that, I will ask each of them to make an opening statement. And then we come to you, the audience, for questions. And can I ask you to use your question and answer button at the bottom of your screen? Get your questions in early, and we'll endeavour to cover it in the next 45 minutes. So without further ado, I'm going to go to our panel and ask each of them to introduce ourselves. And I'm going to start with Gary. Gary.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gary Parks. I'm currently the Group Profit Protection Manager for Matalan, a retailer in the UK, and I've got over 20 years experience working in retail with the likes of Next and Marks and Spencer's.
Thank you very much indeed, Gary. Samuel.
Thank you, Martin. I am Colonel Samuel Abamose, retired. I did 25 years of military service in the Nigerian Army and voluntarily retired in 2009. Joined corporate security and safety function, and I've been the head of corporate security and safety of Union Bank of Nigeria PLC for the past 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Samuel. And over to Paul. Paul, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul Harvey. I'm an Executive Board Director at Ward Security, which is a £50 million national security solutions provider. I'm a chartered security professional, and I am the chair of the UK Advisory Council of Tiny G, which is a not-for-profit global counter-terrorism networking group, and a fellow of the Institute of Security Risk Management.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, as you can see, audience, another elite panel, a retailer, a banker, and someone from the world of security on the supplier side. I'm now going to ask each of our panel to make their opening statement. 3 minutes they each get in order that they can put their side on this particular issue. Gary, over to you first, please.
Thank you, Martin. So I suppose the first aspect of it is to think about people's opinion of security within the retail environment. So I suppose if you ask that question, the first response you will get is, or their first experience of it as they walk into a retail environment, is a security guard standing at the front door. And throughout the years, particularly my early years within sort of retail security, and I have worked at almost every single level. So, you know, from standing on the doors to store detective to being an auditor, all the way through to managing a team, and now sort of in my current role as a Group Profit Protection Manager at Matalan. We've always struggled against or fought against that view, particularly when it comes to a cost base. People ask, what value does the security guard offer standing at the front door? They look at a person standing there, very little engagement with customers, and also see them as a cost. So, you know, it's quite right. Why would they say that they add value? I suppose that's the blindness to the role of the security officer. First of all, being the deterrent, you know, the visual deterrent within the store, and being there to protect the public, protect the staff, and protect the assets of their business. So it's a view that's it's common, but also I think it's a bit of a misconception. So the security function within retail. So how do they add value? Well, my view is that the security role within retail covers many facets to the organisations that we work in. So it's not just about the security officer standing at the front door. They're merely just one part in a cog in of a machine. You know, we have auditors. You know, my current team currently audit all sorts of sort of processes within the stores, be that from the delivery at the back door to the selling of stock through tills. We touch on data mining, for instance, whereby we look for staff dishonesty within the business. We are also seen as a subject matter expert in terms of where we touch various aspects of the business. So we touch on property. So when we look to open up new stores, we do the risk analysis for the stores that where we are due to open. We give feedback on the level of security equipment that we would deploy within a retail environment. We give feedback on the type of cameras that we deploy, the integration of those cameras into access control. So actually, when you start to look at the wider aspects of the role that we perform, you can see that there are various touch points that we get involved in, and we have to give advice. You know, so it's about making sure we get our points across, but also making sure we do that constructively. So the biggest way that we can improve the perception of our profession, and it is a profession, is by always, in my view, adding value, being clear and being honest, and being constructive, and being a team player and being part of that team. One of the biggest frustrations, particularly early in my career, was being deemed as being a blocker. Yeah, with security, always say you can't do this, you can't do this, you mustn't do that, you'll get into trouble if you do this. Well, actually, it's not about not doing this. It's how can we do something that is a business need within a safe way, and how can we support the business to move forward. So where we see security going in the future, I think it's about embedding. It's about all those various touch points. It's about using the experience. It's about educating. It's about sharing. And it's about, for me, the key thing, add value and don't be a blocker.
Gary, thank you very much indeed. And so from Gary in England in retailing to Samuel in Nigeria in banking on the security side. Samuel, your opening statement, please.
Thank you, Martin. Like I will always say, security is everybody's business and responsibility, although some people's core function. The business of security should not be left for the security operatives alone. You see something, you say something. Now, in my organization, we manage a bank that has over 300 branches and several facilities within the Nigerian country. Each branch is dependent on the security provided by my unit. And when you're talking of security, for the bank to survive, it has to operate under a safe environment. And for you to provide safety, there should be security in place. When we are talking of security, we are not talking of only the staff members coming to the branches. We are not talking of the customers alone. We are talking of everybody involved in this business of banking. Security nowadays has gone beyond just standing by the door and looking at people. It has some elements of public relations. The way a security man receives a customer accessing the building will determine whether the customer will want to have a repeat business with that bank. And the way a security man addresses a customer exiting the building adds a lot of value to the continued business of that customer with the bank. In Nigeria here, there are a lot of intervening variables, I call them, but we have been able to make some progress. In every branch, in every location in Nigeria, you have peculiar situations. There are some areas that are more volatile than the others, but in my overall analysis, security has been very key to core business of banking in Nigeria. Every branch has both what I call unarmed and armed personnel. The armed personnel are the outer cordon because we don't want them to relate with the customers. A lot of people don't like seeing people bearing arms. Then on the security guards are the ones who relate with customers, like I said, and they also provide some kind of circle and a kind of public relations with our customers. And when we are talking of security in the bank, we are not talking of only static security. The bankers move, they go for marketing, they go for market storm, they travel. We still monitor what we call tour management. We monitor their movement, and that is where intelligence comes in. We gather a lot of intelligence, and we make sure we advise people as appropriate. It's not everywhere you want to travel to that we allow you to travel to. We gather intelligence and we determine what will likely happen in the next couple of hours or couple of days, and we advise the staff members appropriately. The security has been a core function in the bank. And of course, like some other people may say, there are some key drivers of security investment decisions because some people don't invest. And what are those key functions? You talk of inherent business risks, you talk of legal or criminal justice system, the access and investment of the business organization, the terrorism, insurgency, kidnapping in some areas, then political issues, unrest and civil disturbances like we are having in Nigeria now. The youths have been protesting for the past couple of days against the particular unit of the Nigerian police force, they call Special Anti-Robbery Squad. And of course, the Inspector General of Police has disbanded it. They are still insisting on a kind of further reformations of the police force. These are the challenges, some of the challenges we go through. But is it that the Nigerian police is bad? No. But some people found some units not doing well, and they are agitating that such a unit should not be in existence. But the police force generally doing marvelously well, because those are the people as outer cordon members in all our branches and facilities, and they've done very well. We are talking about the socio-economic problems, and there are a lot of things. Those are the things that people consider when taking security decisions in organizations. Of course, for some online businesses, they may not even understand or value physical security aspect. But an organization like a commercial bank like ours, physical security is very key. If you don't have security on ground, the customers will not have that confidence to come. The staff members will not have a settled mind to do their business and attend to customers appropriately. So for me, security is a key and core function of every thriving business, especially in the financial sector. That is my own take. In other sectors, it may be different, but it is very, very key to the financial sector from all I've gathered over time. Thank you.
Samuel, thank you very much indeed. Well, very, very interesting. Let's get a different perspective, from a different angle at least. Let's go to Paul. Paul, your opening statement, please.
Thank you. First of all, hope everyone's well, and thank you, Professor Gill, for inviting me to be a panellist today. During the pandemic, the role of security personnel in maintaining critical business functions became immediately apparent. It's no coincidence that security raises its profile in the event of major incidents and crises, such as this global pandemic or a terrorist attack. With the latest COVID-19 pandemic, the government moved quickly to recognise security as one of very few sectors as key workers, and receiving recognition from the Prime Minister in one of his addresses to the nation. Security has been deemed at the highest level as central to maintaining critical and non-critical infrastructure nationally. This was also reflected by the client base, who swiftly realised their dependency on security personnel especially once it became clear that their own people would be home under lockdown for a significant period of time. When others were at home under the protection of lockdown, security personnel continued to go to work and risk themselves to keep places safe and operational, waiting for lockdown to end and being ready to welcome people back with minimal disruption when the time was right. It's a massive undertaking to close down the services in a building, and arguably an even greater task to get a building up and running again if it has been shut down. In some places, it can take weeks and up to a month to get that building ready for occupancy once more. Security personnel were core to maintaining stability and reducing the impact and potentially saving tens of thousands of pounds in business operations. Police services did not want empty buildings either because of the inherent risk that brings. Likewise, fire services are dependent on the verification by security personnel and systems if there is a genuine fire to respond to. Security personnel are core to ensuring that stretched public resources can focus on the key things that they need to, and we pick up the difference. So what can we do to change and to keep ourselves at the core? There's an opportunity for the industry to step up, and we must not let this very, very narrow window pass. Indeed, should there be another national lockdown, we will once again rely on security personnel to see us through it and protect our assets. The security sector must provide credibility and validation. There's a general lack of accreditation and certification, especially at management levels, and we need to address it to demonstrate the professionalism that the sector inherently has. We need to challenge ourselves. The industry needs to value itself and stop the long discussed race to the bottom. We've worked incredibly hard during the national crisis, and if we undervalue the services that we provide, then why should we expect others to provide any value back? Profits need to be sustainable. We need to create the capability to invest in our people and businesses, which leads to being better at what we do. We need to challenge existing models and change the conversation. So security strategies should be overlaid with operational strategies and focused on managing risk. And we must continually introduce new skills and ways of working. Fundamentally, to remain at the core, we have to answer the question of what is our purpose and deliver return on investment through risk-based solutions, blending manpower, technology and intelligence, rather relying on the volume of hours that are delivered in order to be successful. We need to move on from contract maintenance to delivering tangible, continuous improvement and innovation. And the service we provide needs to be flexible and adaptable to meet the needs of places and the lives that are being protected. I've been especially encouraged recently by several buyers with significant spend who started to look towards their security partners and the various people tendering, for those providers to offer advice and expertise as the best way to manage risk in any given environment and jointly agree the answer to that key question: what are we here to do? We're here to enable businesses so that they can focus on their own core purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, look, if I had to get three people to speak for the security sector, I'd just come to you. I mean, and my first question going to you, Gary, in a sense, okay, we've just heard from all three of you about the good work that's being done. I mean, Dennis Shep has asked a question. Dennis is based in Canada and a very experienced security professional in his own right, Gary. And one of the things he asks is what I suppose underpins the problem. The security world is good at saying what it does, but it's all a bit nebulous, all a bit imprecise or not very measurable. And therein lies the test for others in a world of business where you measure value. And does security suffer because it's not good at that? And if so, is there an alternative way of presenting it in business terms? Gary, do you see it as a problem?
Yeah, I completely understand the angle, because, you know, particularly in the retail environment, you know, we do struggle to see and where we add value, you know, and it's a very, very honest comment. You know, a sales manager can say, for instance, that their department within a retail store sold X amount of units per day. However, security guard standing on the front door doesn't always know who he's prevented from coming in to commit a theft, for instance. So
do you not use a shrinkage rate? That's the amount. Just for those who don't know, it's the amount one loses from crime, put simply.
Yeah, there are shrinkage rates, and I suppose, but shrink is caused by a huge number of factors, you know. And if you walk into a retail environment just now and you see a guard standing at the front door, and he's checking people for wearing face masks or saying to people, can you use hand sanitizer? The question will be asked, why can't that be done by a general member of staff? And it's a very, very valid point. However, I will say there is the unknown added value of the security professional, and it is a security professional. So it's about, we have to move away from this, you know, man on the door, women on the door, whatever, in a uniform who's there to stop people coming in. It's about enhancing that role within there. So it is about the service. It is about making sure the security tags are on stock, making sure that the staff are engaging with members of the public. It's about approaching it from a service point of view. So all of these hidden things that I really do believe that are difficult to quantify. But if we train our front-facing personnel well, they will demonstrate the value that they add.
Okay, thank you. So let me come to you with the same question, really, about there's not in doubt, I think, in the security world believes it does a good job. The question's a slightly different one, is about, in business terms, it doesn't make a very good value proposition. Would you agree that's the case, Samuel? And is there a solution? Samuel.
Thank you very much, Martins. For me, I don't agree that security doesn't make a good business value. However, there are areas that need fine-tuning for an enhanced performance. Let's look at the structured ideation platforms and the programs. In security management, we must be forward-thinking. We must plan ahead of time, find new ways of tackling security challenges, ensure proper optics for security contributions, like setting realistic targets and measurable KPI. For instance, you know, security business is intangible. That is why some people don't even understand it. If you align your key performance indicator with the overall business objectives, you'll be able to measure and know the contribution of security to the overall success of that business. Of course, for me as an individual, I will advocate that most businesses, especially the commercial or financial institutions, must introduce an agile monitoring of business assets, like ensuring adequate protection of business assets, implementing access control system, deploying the closed circuit television systems, surveillance and lightning, because when a place is well lit, it deters people from doing anything funny. Of course, physical barriers like alarm system and sensors, professional guards, and intrusion detection devices. These are things that will be done to enhance security. But in summary, security is still key. Like some people will say, if you haven't got security, you haven't done nothing. If you don't provide adequate and professional security, you can lose all your profit in a fell swoop without knowing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and point taken. Paul, let me come to you on this. I mean, you slightly covered this in your opening statement, didn't you, in terms of the race to the bottom line, which I suppose is a different way of putting it. From a supplier point of view, and we may want to overlap a question here from Brian Sims, because Brian Sims has posed the question, which of course has been in currency for a while. And why are we not thinking in terms of better security outcomes towards output specifications, what's achieved, rather than number of hours? You mentioned it, Paul. It sounds obvious. But of course, the answer is because security is not respected, it's not seen to have value, and people judge it on different terms, isn't it?
I mean, I think that there's a bit of a change in that move towards output specifications. I've certainly seen that with some major procurement exercises that we're either currently or have been involved in even in the last quarter. And I think that the aspects around that are changing, and that some of the professionalisation and the quality that are coming from a big chunk of the sector is enabling buyers and procurement teams and operators to have confidence to rely on that information. I mean, I think in the property management and facilities sector, one of the things we're clearly there to do, and I think it's understanding the position of the service we're providing. So in that sector, effectively, we are part of the team that works with either the managing agent or the FM company to have happy and satisfied users and occupiers of the building. Happy and satisfied occupiers renew leases, and renewed leases maximises the asset value for the owner. So we are one of a number of tools and services that helps add maximum asset for the owner of that building. And that's through customer experience and different skill sets and everything that goes with that, but also a strong push towards customer experience. And there's now a change in the way that assets are valued in terms of, if you can create a sense of community, then the value of the asset is higher. And the security stroke customer experience that our front of house teams and our back of house teams are providing are absolutely fundamental to that. The second part, which I think is a slightly different angle, is we're a bit like an insurance policy, which you hope you never have to cash in, but in the event of a major incident, or if there's a terrorist attack or something that impacts on an area, you want to know that your security team are able to protect both lives and the asset that they're actually involved with. So I think there's some that's quite over, and there's some stuff that very much is front end, but there's also that kind of unwritten aspect of, you know, if it goes wrong, we want to know what that team are able to do and how they can add value, but we hope it never goes wrong to find out.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'll come back to you, Gary, on this, because you also in your opening statement spoke about the value of the security officer on the door. I ought to say to the audience that yesterday I was out shoplifting. Now, I get paid to go shoplifting by a retailer to test out their security. And there's no doubt at all, I was working with some ex-thieves yesterday, and there's no doubt at all, Gary, the security officer is seen as a major impediment. I mean, when a security officer is good, it's a major impediment. And yet, still the world, if I can speak around perhaps in general terms, doesn't really recognise that face of the industry as someone of the value that that individual really contributes. In other words, we've let it be. We've got ourselves to blame. Who can be surprised that business doesn't value security, because the security sector hasn't really valued it? Gary?
I think probably the reason why the security industry, you know, I'm an end user of you know, companies that supply security resources. One of the challenges that we've got is, as Paul quite rightly said, you know, for too long there's been the race to the bottom. You know, it's about saving money. It's about the bottom line. It's almost about putting an individual on that door with limited training, coaching, and management on an ongoing basis, purely because they are a visual deterrent. And that's the perception that we really need to change. So, you know, when we, and me specifically, look at the security officer and the store, for me, they're on the first step of a ladder in a career within a profession. And we need to, as I suppose senior leaders within that profession, invest time in their development, in their management, and in their coaching. That has to take place regularly, routinely. And the more we invest in people, the better value we will get from them, and then therefore the impact that they make on and the perception that they drive will improve. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, let's build on that a little bit. I mean, a question here, Samuel, from Matthew Porcelli, really building on what Gary's just said. Now, Matthew is a young security professional himself. He's actually a finalist in the US OSPAs, I should add. And he's asking about whether we're really been looking after frontline security professionals, I suppose through the pandemic. But do you think that the sorts of accreditations that are available are one, adequate, Samuel, and B, really fulfilling the objective of making them skilled, making it an attractive job and facilitating a career opportunity? Samuel, and then I'll come to Paul.
Okay, thank you, Martin. The challenge we have all over the world now is that security provision is intangible. And a lot of people cannot tie it to a particular value. If you come to the financial sector, if you come to the banking institution, Some staff members go, they can raise up deposits, they can attract customers. Those ones are measurable. But most people forget that even after attracting customers and deposits, and it's not within a secure environment, everything can go down in a hurry. So what I'm saying is that there are areas we need to fine tune to be able to key into the main business line, like aligning security objectives with the business strategy. We must understand business risk and provide adequate security program, provide regular analysis of business environment from security standpoint, then continuously implement value-adding security initiatives. That is one way you can show off the value of security. Of course, creating a security culture is very key to enhancing the value of the typical security guard right there at the entrance. But when you create a good security culture, you should be able to understand security risk and ensure organization-wide learning. Have security policies. A lot of companies don't even have security policies. You must have security policies. Encourage speaking up on security issues. Like I said, security is everybody's business and security, although some people's core function. Of course, people should be encouraged to adopt the right security behaviors for the overall success and growth of any organization. For me, security is key. What the security guards have done during the pandemic, during the lockdown, that a lot of people were doing online job and working virtually, a lot of security people were there physically. In my organization, some of them even contracted coronavirus and went into isolation and were treated. But there was no way we could have allowed them to stay at home like most people who are now working virtually. Security is key to the success of any business organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam. Well, let me come to Paul. Paul, and let me focus on this bit about value on the front line, Paul, because this is a real biggie for the whole security sector. To Matthew's question, are we looking after this frontline bit? Because the key to getting appreciation in business and outside is getting that role thought of in more positive terms. Paul.
So I think it's for the industry to drive that conversation and to have the opportunity to focus on the positives. And I think it's also linked to the question that Brian said about output specifications. I think if we're not thinking about just security officers on doors and gates and receptions, and we start thinking about how are the teams that we're putting in place managing the risk of any given building or environment that we're asked to work in, and how can we think about what skills are required in order to make that the most effective resource that it possibly can be. And that's a combination of manpower and technology and utilising intelligence. You can have two buildings which are physically exactly the same next door to each other, but the occupants or the usage of that building can be completely different. So the skills that are required need to be completely different. And I think it's incumbent on us as an organisation and as an industry of organisations to continue to impress upon the customer the value of additional skills and ways of doing things differently to how they had previously been done. And in order to do that,
my point would be, and this is the nail, I mean, okay, fair enough. But that was obvious 10, 15 years ago. I mean, you've been around, we've had these sort of conversations over the years. And I suppose the question is, why has it not happened already? And what's the headline sort of change driver that's going to bring about a different way of thinking? You get what I mean? It's not that the arguments are good. The point is, it's so damn obvious. Why has it not happened already?
Yeah, I think initially we started to get to a point where things were going to be reviewed, and then we hit the 2008, 2007 financial crisis, and then that very much put the emphasis back on cost again. I think the nature of the usage of assets and buildings and public spaces is driving a different type of requirement from the security service. And people are going to great hotels on holiday, they're eating in nice restaurants, and they're starting to apply that logic to their place of work. So as a result of that, the workspace is changing in terms of its requirement of the type and nature of the people that are running those buildings and services within it, including security. So very often, 60 to 70%, I think that comes back to Gary's point, and to Samuel as well, is that it's customer service, it's security overlaid with this customer experience piece. And why would someone want to work in a particular building? It's because they've got great facilities, they've got great customer service, and the competition for talent in their own sectors is incredibly high. So they expect a high level of service as a result of it. And I think that overall expectation of the usage of the building is driving different requirements in terms of the skill sets and the profile of the people that are actually operating within the sector, which in turn is driving up pay rates and training and requirements. The more sophisticated aspects of counter-terrorism is driving additional training around things like behavioural recognition and different skill sets. So I actually think that the end user and what their expectation, and in fact what they're demanding from the offices and buildings and environments and public realm and mixed use schemes that they're working in, absolutely are driving a different type of buying behaviour because the requirements are significantly different to what it was 10 years ago.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move back to Gary. Gary, I want to ask you this question. I want to come to you, Samuel, as well on this. Simon Chan makes a point, okay? And one of the interesting things that has cropped up on previous webinars for me is this sense about security being core and the other functions around it, business continuity being one, health being another, health and safety being another. The question is, would it be the case, Gary, that there's a case for security to be the coordinator of this, the lead group, because that makes it more key if it's seen as the reference point for all these broader range of activities. Just to put, we've got this coming up in a future webinar, but one of the points is business continuity is saying the same point to their audience, health and safety is saying the same thing to their audience. Simon's asked the question, Gary, your thoughts? Briefly, if you wouldn't mind, Gary, because we're running out of time.
Yeah. You know, within our organisation, my colleagues are health and safety. So we are, as a business risk team, look after the profit of the business. We have health and safety at our core. We look after business continuity. So it's very difficult to segregate all of those different functions. They are all interconnected and interdependent. And therefore, you know, in various different organisations, the makeup could be slightly different, but essentially those key functions should all be working together, whether it's individual departments or whether it's as a conglomerate, as it is in my business.
Well, who should be in charge, Gary?
The best manager.
You see, because my point is this, really. Okay, yeah, I get the point about them working together, but whoever is being seen to be the most professional, competent, omnicompetent, I suppose, puts itself in a pretty core position, as this pandemic has shown. Well, let me ask Samuel this. Samuel, I mean, briefly, if you wouldn't mind, Samuel, but I'm interested in the relationship between security and other types of similar roles, like health safety, like business continuity. Do you see a case of security being the lead group? Samuel, briefly, if you wouldn't mind, Samuel.
In all modesty, I should say what we're thinking of is a handshake between the different units, health and safety, security, business continuity, but without any intention to be selfish. I think in all, security is involved, because in the business continuity program, in your alternative RV, it must be a secure environment. If you must continue with your business, if your current headquarters or brand becomes untenable, security must be involved. Health and safety, for you to be healthy, it must be within a secure environment. So security is all encompassing. But for me, it is good. In some organizations, it is the same person that manages both security, health, and safety. They are intertwined in one way or the other. But I can also say that when they work collaboratively, it will make a better output for the organization. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Paul, I'm going to come to you next. I've got a good question here, actually, from Asabawiki Nwen. I hope I've said that right, and I apologise if I haven't. The question's a great one, though. Amongst decision makers, Paul, right? And I need to be brief on this answer. Amongst decision makers in business, amongst the elite, from your point of view as a supplier, what most needs to change to bring about a universally positive attitude towards security suppliers rather than a in pockets good attitude? Paul?
I think for suppliers, it's to continue to demonstrate the value that they can have, and in very simple terms is to just to remind people the good things that we do. We're not very good at continuing to remind people about the positives. I think on the buyer side, whether it be a security head, a procurement team, or indeed an executive team of a management or FM company, I think they're starting to get to that point because they're engaging at a different level and getting different results. And I think that the professionalisation of the sector and us thinking differently is driving that change. So I think change is about, but it's not going to happen unless the people that are providing the services and delivering security in general continue to make sure that when we think about security all day, every day, that's our remit, but actually it's not what most of our customers think about all day, every day. So we just need to make sure that it's proportionate and appropriate to what they're actually doing, and keep coming back to that key question of is how are we supporting them to run their business and to meet their core objectives, and also to protect their brand, their reputation, and to reduce their liability, because when things go wrong, it goes wrong and it can be very expensive.
Yeah, and I guess Mike Cummings just made a point very quickly at the end, Paul. Do you think the truth of the matter is security leaders have been a bit too safe, and maybe not got themselves out there thinking about the relationship to the business in a more dynamic way?
I think the security provider sector is getting more confident, and also has been guilty of not saying no enough. You know, we are not going to do it for that. And I understand it's a fiercely competitive marketplace, but I do think that with the change of requirement and what the buyers and users are looking for, people are actually becoming more specialist and prepared to say no, and give themselves a better opportunity to be successful, and actually walk away from opportunities that they actually can't deliver or going to do poorly. So I do think that there's a change about that. But yeah, I would agree with that statement, but I think it's not necessarily going to be the case moving forwards.
Well, let's hope not. The key is that it does change. All right, let's have a panel. I just want to make your one final comment, if I might, please. Here's the question. This webinar is about whether security has been core to business. Headline issue, you've only got 15 seconds each, which is a complicated question for 15 seconds. What for you is the key thing, the key barrier that needs to be overcome for security to be seen as more core to business practice? Gary.
Oh, key thing. Right. So what needs to be lifted? We do need to get better at making our peers understand the value that we provide as an organisation, as a profession. Yeah. In a nutshell.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Samuel, the core thing we need to overcome to make security recognised as core to business?
Aligning security objectives with the business strategy. You understand business risk and provide adequate security program, provide regular analysis of business environment from a security standpoint, and continuously implement value-adding security initiatives. That's the only way you can get into the hearts and minds of the people, both management, the staff, and customers. And the value of security will be enhanced. Thank you.
Yeah, makes sense to me, Samuel. Thank you very much indeed. And Paul?
I think the biggest barrier to overcome is actually the fragmentation of the message, because the security industry doesn't really come together as a whole. There's lots of smaller groups that want to be the voice of the industry or representing the industry. They're not particularly joined up. I think we need to sort of collaboratively find out what each of those organisations' space is, and to work towards one key theme. But the fragmentation is the biggest thing to overcome.
Thank you so much, everybody. Fantastic conversation. Plenty of insights there. I'd not thought of some of those points as well. So thank you very much indeed for that. Just to say, we are, well, let me move on actually. So say that in these countries, when we're talking about doing a really good job, the OSPAs nominations are still open in Romania, Germany and South Africa. 2 award ceremonies to tell you about. on the 24th of November, Thought Leadership Summit and Benelux Awards. Why not register free of charge? It's in English. And the Tackling Economic Crime Awards are on the 9th of December. More details to follow, but for both those cases, Hannah was telling me just before we come on now, tell the audience the finalists are announced this afternoon for both of them. Her and Christine have been busy. Finally, just to let you know, we go through it all again on next Tuesday, actually, when the topic is what's in a name, security officer or security guard. We've mentioned this topic today, and it's a really, really crucial one. It's about this perception of the frontline role. And we're going to be doing a bit of thought leadership about this. We've got a big debate. Is it security officer or security guard? There are really strong proponents of each, and we've got 4 of them on the webinar on Tuesday. So please join us then. Finally, once again, thank you to my panel for their insights. Thank you to you, the audience, for the questions. Some really good conversation on that. I'll be writing a blog and it'll be available on the website tomorrow based on what these 3 have been saying today. And if you want to look at it all again, that will also be on the website as from tomorrow. So thank you to Christine and Hannah in the background. Thank you very much indeed once again, panel. Thank you, audience. And wherever you are in the world, until we meet again, stay safe.
Thank you, Errol.
Thank you.
Thank